participate in one of the fastest growing markets in the world, and that is health tech. And we're doing it in 4 unique ways. And if you're taking notes, you might want to write these down. The first is restoring your nutritional bank account. That's putting nutrients back into your cells and your tissues daily. The second is neutralizing oxidative stress, the silent accelerator of aging. The third is really activating and retuning healthy gene expression in a way that our science team has pioneered in the world. And then the fourth is the unique ability to measure and track that and bring that to the world. So welcome to Truly Intelligent Wellness. This is the next generation of wellness. It's a platform called Prism.io, and we're going to talk about what that means for you. Now, let's begin with a challenge that you and I all face today and the rest of the world face. And it's not just lifespan, how long we live, but it's the widening gap. The gap that's actually increasing between how long we're living well, the youth span or health span, and the actual years we're alive. That's the years spent. It's almost like, and maybe we know someone, right? You and I, that the last 10, 15 or more years of their life, it's like someone turned down a dimmer switch and dimmed their mobility, their mentality, their vitality, their ability to really engage and live a full life. And many of us are wanting to know if we can change that. That's the years stuck in poor health. That's the gap, the years spent in poor health after vitality fades, but before life ends. And we're going to talk today about how do we close that gap and live better, more fully, longer. Now, this is pioneered on a foundation that is shifting dramatically, and it's transforming how we think about aging. We used to think that it was inevitable and there's nothing we could do, but now a team of scientists have actually pioneered research that's been years in development showing that it's actually the expression of our genes that gets out of tune as we age. And now we can see that and do something about it. And Dr. Joe Chang, who heads our team of scientists worldwide, actually wrote about this in the best-selling book over a decade ago called The Aging Myth. He's about to release another book to the market, but you may want to get that as a foundation. And what's really exciting is he identified how we now know that aging is no longer just about time, and it's not inevitable. It's really about what's happening inside our cells. And he and the team of scientists actually brought forward an actionable technology based on this science that we can actually see what's happening in the cells now and actually influence them at the level of gene expression in a healthy and balanced way. We'll talk about what that means for you. Now, another big trend in the world is this idea of biohacking. It is, maybe you yourself are listening to podcasts, reading books. If you go to the bookstore, you'll see a whole section on wellness. More and more people are trying to measure and make incremental changes in what they eat, how they sleep, how they do their daily rhythms and activity to see if they can influence their vitality and path of aging for years to come. And what we all want to maybe think for a second, what are the biggest things for you? I know for me and for many of us, it's mobility, right? We still want to be able to move and be active and do the things, we have the energy to do the things we want to do. For us, it's brain health, right? We want our memory and our mental function. And then also people are interested in preventing disease. They're interested in their physical performance and recovery. These are all areas that are very key and on people's minds, wondering if there's a way to influence it before problems develop. And that's what we want to talk about. And this leads us to something that's very key. And if you're taking notes, I would write down the word measurement, because what is not measured cannot be improved. But as soon as we can measure something, we can improve it. And then when you can improve something, you can lead the market. Now, I find this fascinating that a number of major wellness ways, or health ways, if you will, were started with a single measurement. Think about cholesterol testing in the 1970s, leading to a $20 billion plus industry. And look at glucose scanning, now a 1.5 billion, actually probably even larger now, device measuring market. And look at Oura rings now, people trying to measure themselves at home, 2.5 million rings with a $5.2 billion valuation. Well, today we're going to talk about going further and getting a non-invasive window into your tissues that opens up this whole realm of antioxidant health and the supplement market, a 60 billion market just in the US alone, which just in the US alone, that's already greater than all the other markets above on this chart. Plus, worldwide is much bigger than that, and we'll show you that in a moment. Now, why is this so key? Because when you can measure something, people stay engaged. And when they can track it and see it over time, they invest more and they stay with it longer. And we can really change people's behavior and help them stick with a healthier path. And we'll show what that can mean for you from a business standpoint, a mission-driven business, if that's of interest to you as well. Now, perhaps you're wearing one of these devices on your wrist or on your finger. Look at, already billion-dollar market for these different devices. But the interesting thing is these only measure performance, kind of like your car dashboard, showing you the quality of your sleep, how many steps you're getting, we're closing rings, we're measuring our activity. But let me ask you a question that none of these devices address. And that is what's going on under the hood. What's going on at the tissue level, at the level of your tissue health? Because let's face it, no matter how good we look on the outside, if we're aging or rusting, if you will, on the inside, our tissues are still vulnerable, and that's going to lead to problems. And what if we could know about it and change it today by having a window that would allow us to see that? Well, that's exactly what we have here. This is a technology that was developed over 20 years ago initially, and then we're going to talk about where it is today. But this is based on Nobel Prize-winning light science, Raman spectroscopy, using light to give the first clinically validated non-invasive window or index of your carotenoids, of antioxidant levels in your tissues. That's so accurate, and there's been so much invested in research, all the way from the NIH to universities using this type of science, light science, showing that it is a reliable indicator of fruit and vegetable intake, even in kids as well as adults. And we have now used it around the world to validate the science that goes into our supplements, because the truth is we've discovered not all supplements are created equal. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, why is measuring antioxidants so key? And then we'll talk about where it's going from here. Now, think of, for a moment, of a apple turning brown, or nail or car rusting. That's from oxidation. Well, oxidation is something that we're getting exposed to. Oxidative stress, our tissues and cells are getting exposed to that moment to moment, just from the act of living on this earth. It's part of being alive. And fortunately, nature, or God, has given us the ability to produce antioxidants that help neutralize those, as well as giving them from nature, from fruits and vegetables. But the truth is we're exposed to so many now, often it's out of balance and we are vulnerable. And this is one of the most significant silent accelerators of aging, and we haven't had a way to see that. Most of the world hasn't had a way to see that or do something about it or know their own status. And that's what we're talking about today. Now, at the same time, we're also seeing a major trend. Perhaps you've experienced that since the pandemic a few years ago. The number of people taking supplements has nearly doubled. These are stats just in the US alone, where 3 out of every 4 adults, even down to the 18 to 34 range, is taking some kind of supplement. But it raises a major question, and here are the numbers worldwide. As I mentioned, 60 billion in the US, it's 300 billion global market invested in supplements. Perhaps you're someone who's invested or who has thought about it. But here's the big question. I was talking to a college football coach yesterday, and he said he and his wife had thought about it, but this was exactly their question as well. How do I know which supplement to take, and how do I know if it works? Imagine being able to answer that question for yourself, for your loved ones, and being able to bring that ability to the world. You could solve a major problem, and you could build a significant business that changes lives with that. And that's what we're talking about today. And we're talking about a solution that is based on decades of research, bringing forward solutions from nature that have been clinically validated to improve health and get absorbed and get into the tissues. We'll talk about that in a moment, as well as the ability to track and measure it. And you might write this phrase down: really making the invisible visible. Okay, because measurement is the new medicine, and this is what we are going to equip you and empower you with to be able to lead the world. Now, if any of you are in healthcare or health professionals or work with people in the health arena, this could also be significant for you, because it opens up a whole new category of wellness and the ability to measure, track, and address it in a
personalized and scalable way. And this could be part of your edge in the seasons to come. Now, we believe that we all deserve to know. And perhaps you know someone like I do who 1 year was fine, and then the next year their calendar was full of doctor visits, lab tests, treatments, and we wonder what happened and how did it happen so fast. And the truth is that it likely didn't happen fast, but like I mentioned, the silent accelerator of aging, oxidative stress, and problems developing internally, invisibly, were happening for years before they manifested as an actual problem that the person knew of. Okay. Now, this actually brings up major areas that many of us, are on our minds that we want to prevent, right? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia, early onset dementia is increasing, mobility and joint health, and immune breakdown. These are all areas that people want to be able to address. And that's what we're talking about, being able to have a window into here. So here's what it looks like. This is a color graphic of what this scan shows. And you can see here, down here on the left, that's a low amount of antioxidant protection at the tissue level. And it means you're vulnerable to this daily oxidative stress. And what is oxidation again? It affects our brain, our DNA, our cell walls. It's one of the greatest silent accelerators of aging, and we want to be able to neutralize that with more fruits and vegetables, decreasing our oxidative stress where possible, but we're all going to have some, and then getting better nutrients into our tissues, and this is what's going to measure it. And the goal is to get over here to the right to be able to improve that. Now, just for an example, and perhaps you fall in one of these categories, some people, when they think about supplements, because they can't see and know it's working, they answer, what do I take, by getting the cheapest, hoping that at least they haven't wasted too much money. And on the other end of the spectrum are people who get the most expensive, hoping that means that it's got to be quality. And that's what a gentleman that some of us know, a businessman, did, is he invested in his own personalized lab testing and invested in personalized supplements, which he was taking for about 6 years before he got introduced to the scanner technology. And when he got scanned, he thought, wow, I'm excited. I'm going to see what all this I've invested in my own health is going to show. And I'm expecting to get all the way over here on the right. Well, guess what? He actually scored down here at the bottom of the orange range, nearly in the red. Essentially no better than the average fast food eating American. And he was upset, meaning all that he invested, not only was it not having any impact on his bottom line health, his foundational baseline, but it also means that it was costing him from getting something that actually would work. And this was exciting to him, though, because now he had an ability to see. He switched to a blend that may have seemed, based on what he invested, simpler and more affordable, but it's a blend that's clinically validated by our scientists called LifePak. And this of interest, I was just looking at this just moments ago. There's even a study on this particular blend that shows it even decreases the oxidative rate of LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, because it's now known that not only with cholesterol, but so many things in our body, it's oxidation that actually makes it dangerous and causes more problems. And this actually slows that process down, which makes sense because it actually helps neutralize free radicals, neutralize oxidative stress. But as we can see with the scanner and with that gentleman, which happens again and again on people we scan that are on different health professional grade supplements, many of them are scanning surprisingly low, which means that what they're taking, as good as the intentions are, is not getting into their tissues and actually making a difference. And so what we want to do is be able to change that for people. And now we can, because we have a window that can show this. Now, what's exciting is we can also offer a performance guarantee so that all the risk is on the science and the company that produces this and not on you or on your client. We'll talk in a moment about what this means. Now, as this advances, we're bringing AI and an AI algorithm. In fact, let me stop my screen share and just talk about what that means, because we have now, and if you're taking notes, another highlight phrase I would write down is data bank. I want to highlight 2 data banks in the next few minutes with you. One is this scan data bank, this Raman scan data bank. It comes from over 20 years of scanning people in over 51 countries around around the world, over 15 million people, to create 21 plus million unique scans. Now we're able to combine that in a data bank, and now we're able to split light in this device that's going to be the size of a hockey puck, and in 15 seconds scan the tip of your finger, and using 6 different frequencies of light combined with this AI algorithm, be able to measure and discover patterns and tell us more and more things about your tissue health and how that impacts your overall health. And let me go back to the screen share here. And why that's so significant, if we look at this now, and is as we look at now this hockey puck size with a window on the tip of your finger, now we're looking at tissue antioxidant health and eventually being able to measure and interpret more and more things that impact all these different systems of your body. In fact, already even scientists at Yale University have called the current scan a significant biomarker of nutritional health. And we know that antioxidant health actually impacts everything from our brain health, to skin, to cardiovascular, to immune function, bone health, eye health. Think of all the areas that you're concerned about or that you want to keep healthy in the years to come. And you're hoping this is actually going to shift from hoping to being able to measure and know and see the changes you're making and see the effect they're having in your own tissues. Now, I mentioned data banks. Here's the second data bank, a second game changer in your pocket. And it's actually the science and the scientists at LifeGen Technologies that we've acquired and partnered with our scientists to now acquire one of the largest data banks of its kind of healthy gene expression, combined with screening ingredients from nature around the world to find which ones retune that gene expression to a more healthy pattern. Now, what do I mean by that? Think for a moment about a piano or a violin getting out of tune. That's what's happening with our gene expression, the signals that they're giving, the instructions they're giving to our tissues, to our brain and body to do their work, but they get out of tune, just like a piano or a violin. And what happens if you don't retune those things? They get more and more out of tune. Well, that's what most of us have had to live with because we haven't had any way to see this and measure and retune on a purposeful way. LifeGen, and with this gene chip, has given us that ability. Here's an example of the fingerprint of 52 genes that affect our mitochondria. What are those? Those are the little engines or powerhouses in our cells that create cellular energy, ATP, which is the very energy of life that make our brain, heart, and body function. Without that, there's no life, okay? And in the right here, you see a more aging tissue, and that those signals are almost completely flipped. The green ones now have turned to red in their expression, the red have turned to green. Now, what our scientists have been able to do is find the ingredients and blends from nature that can retune those signals. Here's an example. You can see it's almost completely retuned to the more youthful pattern. What does that mean on a personal basis? This is me. I'm approaching 60, so 58 and a half years old now. And I play soccer regularly with guys 10, 20, often 30 years younger than me. And a key factor to my renewal, not only ability to keep up, but often being the last man standing and still wanting to run full field, even when we play outside 11-11 at the end of the evening, is this continually renewal of putting nutrients back into my nutritional bank account with this family of life pack, retuning my healthy gene expression, and neutralizing that oxidative stress. Being able to do that for years, this is what it has done for me. And this is the kind of real life difference we're talking about, of putting you on a different path of aging vitality versus decline in your own health path, and being able to bring that to the world. Now, for those of you interested in the science, we have over 100 peer-reviewed clinical studies on this light technology that measures carotenoids at the tissue level. We have over 60 in-house scientists worldwide and collaborations with major universities and scientists externally in multiple disciplines, hundreds of clinical studies on our different products and technologies, as you can see here. And the company that we're partnered with that has the vision and the mission to bring this kind of science forward and invest in it is Nu Skin Enterprises. With over 40 years of stability and growth, publicly traded, so held to a very high standard of financial transparency and accountability. And if you caught the video at the beginning, we've actually been the #1 device platform recognized worldwide every year since 2016, 2017, outpacing even every skincare or cosmetic company you can think of. Another word I would write down is this word innovation. Okay. Okay, sorry, we got a little distraction here. Innovation. So I would write this down because we have those 60 in-house scientists worldwide, and also we have one of the largest anti-aging research centers in the world, in the US and abroad. And we've actually earned over 27 Stevie's Awards, which are the American Academy, like the Academy Awards of Business, they're American Business Awards. And Nu Skin and our science team have actually won this multiple times, including multiple wins for most innovative company alongside brands like Apple. Okay, let's talk now for what this could mean for you compensation wise.